I used to have a really solid morning routine until I didn't. The year started real strong. I had checklists, I had rhythm, I had focus. I never would have guessed the thing that threw me off my routine game. Hi, I'm Em. I help people build personal productivity systems and planning routines that work with real life. Today I'm going to talk about what was working, what broke it, how I've tried starting again that didn't work, and then how I'm starting again, and hopefully it will work better than that. And then just some general system building stuff. What was working? I said I had a real solid morning routine and other routines. The beginning of this year, my focus was on building solid systems and habits and routines, and I was off to a great start, especially with my mornings. This was my focus in my winter season, January and February. I do 6 2-month seasons. I knew by that point that I couldn't just have something on the screen, or I couldn't just have a printed list. I've tried printing a list that I just looked at each morning. That didn't work for me. I've tried a doc that I open each morning. That didn't work. I've tried sheets or Notion things that I check off each day. That didn't work. So I knew I needed to print something or have something printed that I checked off each thing each day. And that was working pretty well. That does mean more work because it means printing something. And because I was in a discovery process, it meant tweaking something each week in between and then reprinting it each week. But it was working great for the first couple months of the year. And actually, it was kind of a bonus. I like making forms, so it kept me really involved in the process, and I enjoyed it. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. I started based on the full focus for rituals. Again, I prefer routines. I'm going to say routines, but I started with those as the basis. But it was a bit of a struggle because I don't work a job. And so my morning routine, they have a morning routine, a workday startup, a workday shutdown, and an evening routine. And for me, I like to do things right. I like to follow the rules. And so I was struggling with the morning routine and the workday startup because they kind of bleed together when you don't like go off to a job or punch time clock and work at home. That was where I really played with those categories as I was building my routine, and I got something that was working pretty well. Also, it worked for me to have options. I had lots of things in there that I didn't do every day, and my brain says, oh well, there's a checkbox that should be checked off, but I was somehow able to get over that and know that those were all listed, but I didn't necessarily expect all of them to be done every day, but I could look at them and evaluate, do I need to do this today? Yes or no? Okay, and then I was doing it. It was working great. What broke? Well, it didn't all break at once. I just started not pulling out the tracker first thing. The problem was I was getting up to my office, up to this little attic area that I work, and I would just be so excited. What broke it was starting my YouTube channel, starting a YouTube channel on productivity and systems. That's what broke my productivity and systems. No, let's phrase that differently. Starting a YouTube channel on productivity and systems gave me the opportunity to try new things with my productivity and systems because I was so excited, and I still am. I'm still excited about it. And so I just want to get to work, and I just want to work on it. And I sometimes am neglecting other things. So I would get upstairs and I would want to research, how do I do this thing in this editing software, or how do I phrase this thing. I'd want to work on outlines. I'd want to work on um, ideas for videos. And then I would be like, oh, yeah, I kind of need to take care of this personal stuff. And it wasn't getting taken care of. And part of it is I'm working all in the same space. And then I just kind of kept going through my day. It started out, I would look at my tracker later and later, and then I just stopped printing it because I wasn't following it. How did I try to start working on this again? So a week or two ago, I set some late and loose goals for summer. And one of them is to get my routines back on track. Again, not a smart goal, but a loose, this needs to be a focus. I need to get this worked out. Do I wait, get it worked out, and then make a video? Or do I tell you, hey, this is what I'm working on and this is what I'm struggling with? I opted for the latter. I know a good recommendation when you're building systems is just start by writing down what you're doing. So I thought that's a good recommendation. I'm going to do that. Well, I printed this sheet and you can see it didn't really do much. I didn't even make it through a day writing it down what I did, and I didn't pick it up for the rest of the week. So, fail. Here's what I'm going to do starting over again. I'm going to think of it kind of like a Goldilocks and the Three Bears kind of thing. What I had before was way too big. My old one had gotten a little bloated with things that I didn't necessarily need to be doing. I tried to start with a blank slate, which gave me just nothing to go on. So I'm going to start in between. I'm going to hopefully start in that sweet spot where, just right. So what I'm going to do to recalibrate my routines is I'm going to start building a new tracker. A routine is a stack of habits. I'm going to start with 1 or 2 habits in each of the times that I would consider to be a starting of a routine. Now I kind of treating, YouTube is a job, so I kind of do have a job now, so maybe it's going to work better. I can actually say workday startup, workday shutdown. Maybe that's going to help me. So hopefully what I make won't be too overwhelming in either direction, won't be a completely blank slate, and won't be overly complicated and overwhelming in that direction. I'm going to let it be visual and tactile. That was working, so it's going to be a paper. I don't tape it into my spiral notebook or glue it. I just keep it loose. I keep 5 or 10 papers that I am looking at on a regular basis, paper clipped together, and that way it can just go on top of it or alongside of it. It's something that I grab many times throughout the day, so I don't want to be flipping pages that often in the book. So I can have my spiral notebook open to my daily page most of the time, and then just have this that I grab and put back on the riser next to my monitor. Some general thoughts on systems when you're starting something like this. Good idea to think of it as an experiment. I'm just giving this a try. Hopefully it works better than the last one, but chances are it's not going to be done in a week. It's going to be a process of iteration, and what worked, what didn't. It's part of the thing in the weekly reset, review, think about it, make it better next time. What I know is that a system is better than discipline. Having something in place, having a system in place is better than trying to just keep things in my head or, rely on sheer willpower. If your systems are off right now, you're not alone. I happen to be filming this in the middle of summer, and that's a tough time for some people. If you have a particular habit or routine that you're working on, or one that you've got nailed down, I would love to hear that also. I'm going to keep sharing what's working and what's not, because that's real life. There are ebbs and flows, and hopefully that's helpful to you, because I know it's helpful when I hear it from other people. Love to have you like and subscribe. Love to hear from you in the comments, and we'll see you back here again next time. Thanks. I'm a stats person. It was kind of like a bell curve. I'd kind of gotten slow start, got it up to speed, and then it kind of dipped down, but then it really dipped down. I'm not going to use any